Have you ever watched someone walk away from you as if you never meant anything to them? As if the nights you stayed up listening to their problems, the times you held them together when they were falling apart, the love you poured into them, never even happened. It's a different kind of pain when someone you gave your whole heart to treats you like you were just a chapter in their story, while they were the whole book in yours. And the worst part? They didn't even think twice about leaving. They thought you'd be waiting, sitting in the same place they left you, heartbroken and hoping they'd come back. But what they never expected was your silence. They assumed you'd reach out. They thought you'd send long messages trying to make sense of their coldness. They thought you'd cry for closure, fight for their attention, or beg them to explain why they stopped caring. But instead, you gave them something they can't handle. You gave them absence. And that is driving them insane. Because silence is powerful. Silence is the loudest response you can ever give to someone who expected your pain to be their victory. Your silence is not just a lack of words. It's a statement. A statement that says, I do not need you. I do not miss you. I do not care anymore. And that is what haunts them. At first, they might pretend they don't notice. They might act like they don't care. But trust me, they are watching. They are waiting for you to break. Waiting for that one message, that one sign that you're still affected, that you're still holding on. But every day that passes without a word from you, that's a dagger straight to their ego. Because deep down, they wanted to believe you'd never move on, that you'd always be an option, always be available, always be that person who would forgive them no matter what. But now, your silence is forcing them to face a truth they never considered. They lost you. And now, while you're healing, while you're rising, while you're learning to live without them, they're the ones left wondering if they ever truly mattered to you at all, wondering if they made the biggest mistake of their life, wondering why the person they thought they controlled suddenly became untouchable. So, if you're choosing your silence over their games, if you're choosing your self-worth over their empty apologies, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is my revenge. My healing is my power. Now, let's get into it. Number 1, they thought you'd always be there. Let me tell you something about human nature. People don't appreciate what's constant. They only start to see your worth when they feel the emptiness your absence creates. When they walked away, they didn't think they were losing you forever. No, they thought they were taking a temporary break. A break where they could go out, explore, have their fun, and come back when they were ready, because in their mind, you were a sure thing. You were the person who always forgave, always cared, always answered. They thought you'd always be the one picking up their late-night calls, that no matter how many times they disappeared, you'd be there, waiting with open arms. They thought they could drop a half-hearted, I miss you, and you'd come running back, desperate to hear those words. But what happens when the person they were so sure of suddenly goes silent? It shakes them. It confuses them. It messes with their mind in ways they never expected. Because they were ready for your anger. They were prepared for the emotional texts, the "Why did you do this to me?" messages, the long calls begging for closure. They were expecting to see you break. But what they weren't ready for, your silence. When you don't react, when you don't reply, when you don't acknowledge them at all, that's when they start to panic. Suddenly, they're the ones staring at their phone, waiting for a message that never comes. They're the ones checking your social media, wondering why you seem unbothered. Because here's the thing, they never actually thought you'd move on. They thought you'd always be an option. But your silence is forcing them to question everything they believed about you. Silence doesn't just say, I don't care. It says, "I've changed," and that terrifies them. Because the person they took for granted no longer exists. The person who once gave them unconditional love now gives them nothing. No reassurance, no second chances, no explanations. And when they realize they've lost access to your energy, the same energy they used to drain and take for granted, that's when the regret starts to settle in. They thought you'd always be there. But now they're learning the hardest lesson of all. No one waits forever. And by the time they realize what they've lost, it's already too late. If you're done being the person who waits, if you're done being taken for granted, drop this affirmation in the comments. I am not the same person they left. I am stronger now. Number 2. Your silence is making them feel replaceable. Do you know what hurts more than rejection? Being forgotten. Rejection still gives a person something. It gives them an answer, a conclusion, a sense of closure. But silence leaves them in limbo, trapped in their own thoughts, replaying memories, searching for a sign that they still matter. When you reply, even if it's just one message, you're giving them reassurance. You're letting them know they still have a place in your life. Even if it's a place of anger, even if it's a place of heartbreak, they still exist in your world. But when you go silent, you're showing them they're not as important as they thought they were. And that's a pain they never expected to feel. They thought you'd be the one suffering, waiting for them to come back, checking your phone every 5 minutes, scrolling through their social media, trying to make sense of the heartbreak. But now, the roles have reversed. Now they're the one checking their phone constantly, hoping for a sign that you still care. Now they're the one stalking your social media, trying to understand how you're living, breathing, thriving without them. Now, they're the one replaying every memory, every conversation, every moment where they should have chosen you, but didn't. And that confusion, that feeling of uncertainty, that slow-burning realization that they lost someone irreplaceable, that is the punishment they never saw coming, because they assumed they held all the power. They assumed you would be the one drowning in the silence, lost in the emptiness they left behind. But what they didn't realize is that you became the silence. You turned your pain into power. You turned your heartbreak into strength. You turned their absence into an opportunity to rebuild yourself without them. And the worst part for them? They can't stand it. They can't stand the thought that they're not missed the way they expected to be. They can't handle the reality that they walked away thinking they were irreplaceable, only to realize they were just temporary. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone is trying to pull you back, it means you're ahead." And that's exactly what your silence is showing them. You're ahead now. You're not the broken, desperate version of yourself they left behind. You're the version of yourself they were too blind to appreciate. They lost you, not because you weren't enough, but because they never thought they'd have to fight to keep you. And by the time they realize they should have held on tighter, you'll be long gone. If you're done giving your energy to people who took you for granted, drop this affirmation in the comments. I am the one they lost, not the one they left. Number 3, they're realizing you were the best thing they ever had. Here's the truth most people will never admit. People don't miss you when you're available. They miss you when they no longer have access to you. When they were with you, they took your love for granted. They thought your kindness was a given. They assumed you would always be there, ready to pick up their calls, ready to forgive their mistakes, ready to be their safe place. But now you're gone. And for the first time, they're seeing the difference between you and everyone else they thought could replace you. See, most people don't lose something and immediately regret it. It takes time. At first, they feel free. At first, they think they made the right decision. They convince themselves they can do better, but then reality starts to hit. They start meeting people who don't understand them the way you did, people who don't care the way you did, people who don't love them without conditions the way you did. And that's when the regret starts creeping in, because now they're realizing you weren't just another person in their life. You were the one who actually cared, the one who stood by them when they were at their worst, the one who would have gone to war for them, and they threw it all away like it was nothing. That's the beauty of silence. It doesn't beg, it doesn't explain, it doesn't fight for attention, it simply disappears, leaving them to feel the weight of their choices. And trust me, that weight, it's heavy. Because now they have to sit with the regret. Now they have to live with the fact that they had something real. And they lost it. They had someone who truly loved them, and they walked away. At first, they'll try to distract themselves. They'll act like they don't care. They'll post on social media, looking happy, pretending they're better off without you. But deep down, they're starting to feel the emptiness. They're starting to realize that all the people around them now, they don't really care. They don't truly understand them. They don't love them for who they are. And suddenly, the thought that used to be their greatest comfort, that you would always be there, is gone. Because you didn't chase, you didn't beg, you didn't fight for a spot in their life. And now, they're left with the painful truth. You never realize the value of a diamond until you're left with stones. It's not about revenge. It's not about making them suffer. It's about understanding your worth. The moment you stopped proving your value to them is the moment they started seeing it. And that lesson, that's something they'll carry for a long time. If you've ever felt like someone took you for granted and now they're realizing what they lost, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is teaching them what my love couldn't. Number 4. Why your absence hurts more than any words ever could. You could have written them a long message, spilling out every emotion, every ounce of pain they put you through. You could have explained how much they hurt you, how deeply their actions cut you. You could have begged them to understand, to care, to finally see your worth. But let me tell you the truth. None of that would have mattered. They would have read your words, maybe even felt a flicker of guilt for a second. But then, they would have put their phone down and gone on with their life, completely unaffected, because words don't hurt people who never valued you. That's why silence is your most powerful weapon. Silence doesn't just tell them you're done. It proves it. It creates a void they never expected, a space they thought would always be filled by you. And that's what breaks them. They start questioning things they never questioned before. Did I ever really matter to them? Why aren't they fighting for me? How are they so strong without me? And here's the twist. When someone expects a reaction and gets nothing, it drives them insane. People expect anger. They expect pain. They expect you to beg, to cry, to hold on. But what they don't expect is your indifference, and nothing stings more than indifference. Seneca once said, "Indifference is the strongest form of rejection, because when you don't react, when you don't reach out, when you don't break, you're sending a message louder than any words could ever express. You are no longer important in my life." That's a hard pill to swallow for someone who thought they had you wrapped around their finger. At first, they'll act like they don't care. They'll pretend your silence means nothing to them, but deep down, it's eating them alive. Because now they're the one checking their phone, waiting for a message that never comes. They're the one refreshing your social media, wondering why you seem perfectly fine without them. They're the one replaying every memory, trying to figure out when they lost their grip on you. They thought they had control. Now they're realizing they lost it the moment you stopped explaining yourself. You're not being bitter. You're not being petty. You're not playing games. You're simply protecting your peace. And that's what's breaking them. Because nothing haunts a person more than knowing they had access to you and lost it forever. So, if you've ever struggled with the urge to explain yourself to someone who didn't deserve it, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I am choosing my peace over their attention. Number 5. How your silence is destroying their ego. Let me tell you something. They never expected to miss you. They thought they could walk away, move on, and you'd always be there as a backup plan. They thought you'd reach out first, that you'd keep checking in, that your love for them would override their selfishness. But your silence is proving them wrong in ways they never imagined. They thought you'd cry for them. Instead, you're healing. They thought you'd wait for them. Instead, you're thriving. They thought they had power over you. Instead, you're showing them they never did. And nothing destroys someone's ego more than being ignored by the very person they thought they had control over. Ego is a fragile thing. It feeds off attention, validation, and the illusion of power. And when you refuse to give them any of that, it messes with their head. Every time they check their phone and see no message from you, it breaks them. Every time they look at your profile and realize you're moving forward, it breaks them. Every time they replay memories in their head and remember how much you once cared, it breaks them. Because here's the truth. They thought they could replace you. But replacements don't come with the same soul. At first, they'll pretend your silence doesn't bother them. They'll post pictures, act like they're living their best life, maybe even try to make you jealous. But you know what's really happening behind closed doors? They're suffering. Because when someone has an inflated ego, they thrive on feeling important in other people's lives. The moment you take that feeling away from them, they spiral. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Let them think you're heartless. Let them think you've moved on overnight. Let them think you're cold. Because none of that matters. What matters is reality. And the reality is they're the ones hurting, not you. Your silence is forcing them to face something they never wanted to admit. They needed your attention more than you ever needed them. And that's why they're struggling. Because once a person realizes they don't have power over you anymore, they start doubting their own worth. They start questioning if they were ever as special as they thought they were. And that kind of self-doubt, it's excruciating for someone with a big ego. At some point, they might try to break the silence. They'll send a casual text, hoping to bait you into responding. They'll ask mutual friends about you, hoping to hear that you're still thinking about them. They'll do everything except admit the truth, that losing you was their biggest mistake. But you don't owe them a response. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe them anything. Your silence is your answer. Your absence is your message. And that's why they're suffering. So, if you're choosing your peace over their ego, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is breaking their ego, not my heart. Number 6. What happens when you stay silent long enough? Here's the truth they don't want you to know. The longer you stay silent, the more they suffer. At first, they'll act like your silence doesn't bother them. They'll go about their life as if losing you was no big deal. They'll post pictures, go out with friends, maybe even jump into a rebound relationship just to prove to themselves, and to the world that they're perfectly fine. But silence has a way of creeping in. It doesn't hit all at once. It's slow, steady, and inescapable. And the longer you stay silent, the louder that silence becomes in their mind. At first, they'll convince themselves you're just playing hard to get. Then, they'll assume you're just taking time to cool off. But then, weeks pass, months pass, and reality sets in. You're really gone. And that's when it hits them. That's when they start checking their phone at random moments, hoping to see your name pop up. That's when they start replaying memories in their head, trying to remember the last thing you said to them. That's when they realize, for the first time, that maybe, just maybe, they made the biggest mistake of their life. And it eats at them. Because now, they're left with a reality they never expected. The person they thought would always be there for them, the person who once loved them unconditionally, is now a stranger. They won't admit it at first. Their ego won't let them. So, they'll try to distract themselves. They'll surround themselves with people, throw themselves into work, drown themselves in temporary pleasures. But no matter what they do, the silence remains. The silence is a reminder that they lost someone who actually cared. The silence is a reminder that they're replaceable in your world, even though they thought you were replaceable in theirs. That's when the, "Hey, how have you been?" texts start rolling in. They'll act casual, like they're just checking in, like they suddenly care about your life again, but deep down, they're desperate. They're hoping, praying, that you'll break your silence and give them another chance at the control they once had. But by then, it won't even matter. Because by the time they realize your silence was your power, by the time they realize they should have valued you when they had you, by the time they understand what they lost, you'll be too far ahead for them to ever reach you again. And that's the ultimate lesson your silence teaches them. You are not someone to be taken for granted. You are not someone who waits forever. You are not someone who begs to be seen. You are someone who walks away when they are not valued. You are someone who chooses peace over drama. You are someone who doesn't chase people, who don't appreciate your presence. And that realization, that's what truly breaks them. Because for the first time, you are the one who got away. So, if you're healing in silence, if you're choosing yourself over their empty words, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I'm healing in silence, and they'll miss me when I'm gone. Number 7. How to keep your power in silence. I know it's hard. I know the silence feels heavy sometimes. Your heart still remembers them. Your mind still replays the moments when everything felt real. And there's a part of you, a small part, that still wonders if maybe, just maybe, breaking the silence would bring you the closure you never got. But here's the truth. Closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you. And every single day you don't reply, every single day you resist the urge to reach out, every single day you hold your silence is another day you are choosing yourself. That's how you keep your power. Because silence isn't just about ignoring them, it's about healing you. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself that you gave away so freely. It's about showing yourself that you don't need their validation to move forward. It's about proving to yourself that you are stronger than the pain they left you with. But how do you actually keep your power in silence? How do you stop yourself from falling back into old habits? How do you make sure they never get the satisfaction of thinking they still have access to you? Block them if you need to. Let's be real. Some people don't deserve the privilege of your presence. If seeing their name pop up on your phone tempts you to respond, block them. If their posts still mess with your emotions, block them. If they're using social media to play mind games and get a reaction out of you, block them. This isn't about being petty, it's about protecting your peace. They don't get to have an open door to your life while they move on with theirs. You owe them nothing. Delete the old messages. Stop rereading them. Stop looking for hidden meanings in their words. Stop holding on to conversations that no longer serve you. Every time you go back and read old texts, you're reopening wounds that should be healing. Those messages are from a version of them that no longer exists. The person who wrote those words is not the person who left you. Delete them, clear your inbox, let go, because the longer you hold on to the past, the harder it becomes to step into your future. Stop checking their social media. Let's be honest, every time you check their profile, you're setting yourself up for pain. Maybe they look happy. Maybe they've moved on. Maybe they're posting things that feel like indirect messages to you. But guess what? None of it matters. People only show what they want the world to see. Their happiness could be fake. Their new relationship could be a rebound. Their posts could be their way of trying to get under your skin. Don't give them that power. Every time you check their social media, you're letting them take up space in your mind. And they don't deserve one more second of your energy. Focus on becoming the person they never thought you'd become without them. This is where your real power lies. They thought you'd fall apart without them. They thought you'd be stuck in the past, missing them, waiting for them. But what if, instead, you became the person they never expected? What if you used this silence to build yourself up, to heal, to grow, to glow in ways they never imagined? Work on your dreams. Invest in yourself. Build the life they never thought you could have without them. Because nothing messes with someone's mind more than realizing the person they left turned into someone they'll never have access to again. Remember this: silence isn't weakness. Silence is self-respect. There's a reason they say actions speak louder than words, because sometimes the loudest message you can send is no message at all. They played with your heart. Now you're playing with their mind, without saying a single word. And that is how you keep your power. So if you're choosing your silence over their games, if you're focusing on becoming the best version of yourself, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I am becoming the person they never thought I could be. Your silence is the punishment they never expected. But this isn't about hurting them. This is about healing you. You're not staying silent to make them regret losing you. You're staying silent to remember who you are without them. If this video touched your heart, I want you to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay silent, stay powerful, and never forget your worth.